You cannot underestimate the power of having a public-facing Manifesto essay blog. It is a community magnet. I cannot stress this enough. If you put out your point of view, whatever that might be. I feel this way with my essay, like a lot of what people talk about now. I'm like, I was saying this years ago. As time goes on and as people read your stuff, you will naturally feel comfortable writing more and compounding more. Make it authentic, make it something that you're proud of, but know that you can evolve over time. Welcome to Trailblazers, the podcast where we sit down with contrarian tech leaders who found conventional success in unconventional ways. I'm your host, Erica Wenger, founding general partner of Park Rangers Capital. Each week, we uncover the stories, strategies, and moments of grit that define the builders shaping the future. They're not just chasing unicorns, but instead creating elephants, companies, firms, or movements built to last. On Trailblazers, we spotlight founders who succeed by doing things differently, not by following the playbook, but by rewriting it. Many of those unconventional builders and the VCs backing them run on Brex because it helps them scale with speed and focus. From smart corporate cards and high-yield banking to AI-powered expense management, Brex gives startups the financial stack they need from day one so they can spend more time building and less time managing back-office operations. More than 30,000 companies, from breakout startups like Anthropic and Cursor to global leaders like DoorDash and Plaid, trust Brex to help them spend smarter and move faster. That's why we, as a venture firm and also the podcast, run on Brex too. Sign up at brex.com/trailblazerspod to get started and claim exclusive rewards. That's brex.com/TRAILBLAZERSPOD. So today on the show, we are going to do a solo episode all about the importance of a public-facing manifesto. I get asked this a lot. For those of you who don't know, I wrote an essay, a foundational essay, aka public-facing manifesto. And when I wrote it, I didn't realize all the benefits that it would have. And I'm now like a walking advertisement for people that should do this. Whether you're building a fund, whether you're building a company, whether you have a project, whether you just are building a movement of any kind, you cannot underestimate the power of having a public-facing manifesto, essay, blog, whatever you want to call it, thesis. So I'm going to walk through the 3 big benefits for why you should do it, and make my case, and then 5 next steps. If you're like, okay, Erica, I get it, let's do it. I'll walk through that. Okay, great. So this is what I want to talk about to start. What if one essay could filter your calendar, attract your community, and sharpen your own thinking all at one time? Like I said, I did this, and I've continued to do this in sort of smaller micro versions, and it's completely changed my calendar, community, and sharpened my own thinking. So let's start with the 3 big benefits. So what does a manifesto do for you? The first thing is that it is a filter and it is a magnet. So filter, I'll start with that. I don't know about you, but if you are someone that is doing a lot of things, whether you have a day job and a startup at night, maybe you're building something all day, every day, whether you have kids and you have a very busy calendar, you don't have often a lot of time or enough time in the day to take all the meetings that you want to, especially with people that are net new, that you haven't met before. How can you better filter if those people are the right ones you should be meeting and are values aligned with you? I have found a manifesto, asking someone to read it before they hop on a call with you, is a great way to filter if you are aligned or not. I have found that, you don't want to call it homework, but you can ask that someone review your point of view, review your perspective, review your writing, and see if you see the world the same way. If yes, amazing, let's chat. If not, no worries. To me, putting forward your perspective in such a clear, confident, public way helps eliminate meetings dramatically. And I found this for myself, especially if you're fundraising, especially if you're, looking for customers to sign up for your startup. You need to find a way to slim out the meetings that are a waste of time. It's kind of like dating. Like a lot of times you can go on a date within 5 minutes, it's not the right fit. Same with a call, right? If it's not the right person, you guys are not aligned, you don't see the world the same way. And so it's a great filter. The second benefit in that first bullet is that it's a magnet. So it is a community magnet. I cannot stress this enough. If you put out your point of view, whatever that might be, it might be that you are so passionate about saving the pandas, or it could be that you think healthcare needs to be transformed. Whatever the thing is, other people with a similar interest will find you. And it's a combination of basic SEO, like they might type in on Google or ChatGPT, like, tell me more information about healthcare industry or pandas or whatever it might be, for sure. but it's also a very shareable way for people to learn about you. Let's say I had a great meeting with someone and I said they were so smart, they had all these really interesting ideas, they're completely changing healthcare. Here, friend A, learn about what friend B is doing, and I just send the link. It's just a really nicely packaged way to bring the right people to you and build your community. Also, if you have a public following of some kind, it's a really great way for people to read up on you quickly when they hop on your profile. So I am a big believer of pinning the manifesto to your profile so that people can learn about you very quickly and succinctly without having to read through all your posts or read through all your tweets or whatever it might be. Okay, so the second big benefit of what a manifesto does for you is it signals seriousness and contrarian clarity. So I think we're in this age, everyone talks about this, but it's very true, where everything is quick and soundbitey and not as thoughtful, I think, as it should be, myself included, right? We're always trying to have a bitey headline or a viral tweet, and it's not always that serious, right? It's like, hey, I was just at this coffee shop and someone did XYZ. Long-form writing demands a level of seriousness and a level of clarity that short-form writing and short-form content does not. And I think more and more people respect long-form writing because it is totally in the minority. I also think this contrarian piece is really important. That's also in the minority, right? Being an original, that's not normal. A lot of people follow the crowd, and that's okay. But to really build something different, to build a movement, you do have to be a contrarian. And you do have to say, hey, this, I'll use my healthcare industry example again. It operates this way, but it really needs to operate that way. And that's why. And to be able to articulate your contrarian thinking is so, so important. And like I said, the seriousness of it, it will make you stand out above the rest. And I will say for myself, one of the things that I've always struggled with is being a bit on the younger end and being a woman in a very male-dominated field. Those are just facts. And because of both of those things, I think there is a tendency for some people to subconsciously not take me as seriously when I'm talking about deals I'm doing or having real conversations with folks that are 20, 30 years older than I am and very much in the man's world, right? And so I think for me, writing has really helped me be seen as an equal with interesting ideas, totally separate from my age, my gender, anything else about me that might make me not be taken as seriously. And so I think if you are specifically in sort of a more of an underrepresented, underestimated position, it'll help you be taken seriously. And I can't recommend it enough for that. RocketReach is the leading sales and lead intelligence solution trusted by sales, marketing, recruiting, and business development teams to grow their businesses. Whether you're looking for a developer halfway around the world, a C-level exec in New York, or a potential investor in Silicon Valley, we connect you directly. With RocketReach, you can easily access the most comprehensive, accurate compilation of emails and phone numbers on Earth. That puts you in front of the right people faster and backs you up with a database that reaches across industries, markets, and titles. Using AI, of course, to continually improve the quality of your contacts. With RocketReach, you can reach anyone so you can reach higher.
Trailblazer listeners get 15% off any plan at rocketreach.co/trailblazers. That's rocketreach.co/trailblazers.
So the third big benefit about writing a manifesto is that it sharpens you and it holds you accountable. So we all know that we can think things all day, every day, but when we put it in writing and we're forced to write clear, cohesive sentences, that's when the truth comes out. That's when we really learn, right? Because you teach other people to really learn it yourself, to internalize it. And so it really sharpens how you see the world and how you want other people to see you. So even if it's a solely selfish pursuit, I think long-form writing can be really valuable. And then holding you accountable. This is such a big thing, especially in the tech world. People's ideas change all the time. And this is one thing that has frustrated me at times, but I do understand you have to change as the market changes. But you should have a point of view and a thesis and a way of seeing the world that doesn't necessarily change and that you can be held accountable to a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so I think that sort of time stamping your ideas is a really huge benefit. One, you can say, hey, I told you so, right? I feel this way with my essay. A lot of what people talk about now, I'm I was saying this years ago. But also, it forces you to not be too much of those wobbly balloons at the car wash that float in the wind, right? It forces you to have a backbone. It forces you to hold accountable to yourself and the ideas that you put forth. And there's nothing that you should put out there in long form writing that you haven't really thought through, that you don't say, wow, I could really stand by this, in the future. And so I think that thinking of like double checking and being thoughtful is something we could all benefit from. So that is 3 big benefits for a manifesto. I think this is so essential if you are building something from nothing, a startup, a fund, a project, whatever it might be. Like I said, this will help big time. Now, if you're listening to me and you're like, okay, I'm considering it, I might want to write a manifesto. How do you do it? Where do you even start? So these are the 5 next steps I've put together. So the first is notice your themes. What are you talking about a lot? Use Granola or one of these other AI tools where it's recording your conversations and bringing up what's the language that you say repeatedly. Maybe what are the things that frustrate you about an industry? What are the norms that you keep challenging? And you're looking for repetition. You're looking for like, what are the things that get you excited or get you angry? This is probably going to be included in your manifesto. And honestly, you could sit with yourself and think, what do I talk about? But I do think an AI tool is going to help a lot because we don't always know. We're not always aware of what we're talking about when we start our calls. When you say, hi, my name is Erica, and I focus on XYZ, and I'm really upset about XYZ, so I spend my time thinking about XYZ. Whatever you repeat over and over again is probably like that 1-minute explanation could probably be pulled out some key themes and put in your manifesto. The second next step is thinking about redefining language and redefining the narrative. So for myself, I would hop on calls and I would talk about how blitzscaling led to a lot of failed startups. And I don't necessarily want to hype the hype. I want to reimagine venture and I want to think thoughtfully about business building and my background in social entrepreneurship and how that gives me an interesting lens now in venture. And I would talk about this like unicorn phenomenon, how it worked for a decade from like 2013 to 2023, but it's actually not really working from 2023 onwards. And I kept coming back to this like unicorn phenomenon. I would use other words, right? Like blitzscaling or hype, but unicorn, that kept coming up for me. And I realized maybe there's another animal that I should come up with that isn't like the unicorn. It's actually quite different, but will be more successful. And that's where the elephant language came about. You don't necessarily need to create an animal icon, right? I have friends who have started funds and they talk about investing in a very specific area. It's a name they've completely made up themselves. Like as an example, I'll talk about Monique Woodward at Cake Ventures, and she invests in what she calls demographic change. And cakes, they usually have 3 layers. And so she invests in 3 types of demographic change. Minority to majority. So a lot of minority folks are becoming the majority buyers. Women are gaining more consumption power. And then she talks about the boomers and sort of the aging population getting more spending power as well. So 3 different demographic changes, right? She's coined as like what her fund invests in. So again, creating new language, creating visuals so that people can put themselves in your brand world, I think is really powerful. And instead of just critiquing an industry or a movement, reframing it in a way that people approach with excitement. Demographic, instead of saying there's all these changes and they're really bad and they're horrible, you can say, actually, there's this new opportunity and we call it X or Y. And that's the language that you can own and come back to. A third step for creating your manifesto is finding your thought partners. This is a very important part. As much as I'd like to say that every idea I've ever had has been solely my own, that is not true. It has often happened in conversations with trusted confidants. It has often happened with family members who are not even in business, and I'm just trying to explain myself. And so there's 2 things here I think you should do in terms of, finding your thought partners. One, someone ideally who is a really good writer, someone who understands storytelling. They could even be like in marketing, but they understand the flow of a really good email, or they understand, maybe they've written a book before. They understand story and plot and hooks and all that good stuff. I would find someone who can be your writing thought partner. And if that's not your strength, if writing isn't your strength, for a lot of business people, it's not, use that person to spar and help you come up with an outline and help, mirror back your ideas to you. I have that. He's absolutely wonderful. And he is someone who, when I have ideas, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the world this way. I keep having these conversations. This is what I'm thinking. And he helps me put together what that looks like. Helps me with, okay, well, we should start with the hook here and we should have it broken into 3 sections here. And helps me frame my writing in a great way. And then another piece of this thought partners is maybe then finding another 3 to 5 trusted people in your industry who can read your stuff and give you feedback. I can't stress the importance of this enough. No matter how much you want to think that your ideas are so novel and so brilliant and your examples and your case studies are so good, you need people who have your best interest at heart, but also who speak your language and are in your world to read your stuff and give you feedback. And hopefully you do the same for them. And so I also have my little circle of people who read everything that I put out there, and they know, like, the more feedback, the better. You will never hurt my feelings. Feedback is a gift. And so that to me has been very valuable too. And they send me their stuff and I do the same. You need to have trusted people because, again, sometimes things sound better in our head than they do written. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is built to help small business owners and growing teams stay on top of every customer conversation. Instead of juggling calls, texts, and voicemails on a personal phone, Quo gives you a dedicated business line and an all-in-one inbox that works on any device. Teams can collaborate in real time, picking up conversations seamlessly and responding faster than ever. And with Quo's AI agent, Sona, handling after-hour calls, answering questions, and even booking appointments, you'll never miss a lead. Rated 4.7 stars on G2 and trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is the smarter way to grow without missing a customer. Quo is offering my listeners 20% off of your first 3 months at quo.com/trailblazers. That's quo.com/trailblazers. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I've actually used Gusto at 3 different companies, and every time it's been such a relief. It's simple, it's reliable, my paycheck was always on time, no drama. And unlike the big clunky payroll systems out there, Gusto is affordable and designed for teams like ours. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/trailblazers and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/trailblazers. One more time, gusto.com/trailblazers. The next step is to start simple and then evolve. So don't feel like you need to write a million essays out the gate. Again, I'm saying one manifesto, and that manifesto should be one simple idea. Sure, you want case studies to back it up. You want to talk about your own experience, what makes you credible to talk about it, but don't feel like you have to throw everything in the kitchen sink into this one essay. I also will say, as time goes on and as people read your stuff, whether it's this one essay or maybe you write 2 or 3, you will naturally feel comfortable writing more and compounding more. One of the funds I look up to a lot, it's called Union Square Ventures. They, for each fund, take a step back and say, okay, were our assumptions from the last fund correct? And how is it going to evolve for the next fund? And that to me is so powerful. Let yourself evolve. Start with an idea, have conviction, hold yourself accountable, a lot of the stuff I talked about. See it through, right? But then for your next fund, you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to say, hey, I said maybe elephants were really powerful, but actually now it's giraffes. That's an example. That's not what's happening, but just so you know. I think every fund cycle or every fundraise, whatever it might be, you can revisit this manifesto you put together. So don't feel like you have to hold it so tight and that it has to be perfect. Make it authentic, make it something that you're proud of, but know that you can evolve over time. Lastly, publish, even if it's imperfect. Momentum matters more than polish. And I think a lot of people get stuck in the thinking and the iterating and the notes app, and they never get to pushing publish. And they're too scared. And I'm here to say, I was there. I was scared. I had this really bold thesis where I was like, the one animal this whole industry uses to define success is actually not that legit. And I feel good about the cases I have to back it up. And I've studied the data and I know what I'm talking about, but it was still scary. And so my advice is be thoughtful, be clear, be concise, be contrarian, but publish it. Don't be too scared. And I promise you it'll change your life in more ways than you realize. Start with one page, start with one essay, share it with a few trusted people, make it thoughtful, make it count, and then share it. And then share it everywhere. Publish it and you will see your calendar transform, your community transform. And, I'm living proof of that. I started with one essay and then now here we are. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to give feedback and advice, but I hope that you hear me on this and within the next few weeks, you get something out there. On Trailblazers, we're always talking about multiplying your impact, and that's exactly what Athena helps you do. Athena pairs you with a world-class executive assistant who becomes a true force multiplier for your business and your life. Working with my Athena assistant has been transformative. Gab was instrumental in raising Park Rangers Capital's fund in ways that I could have never imagined an assistant could contribute, from closing six-figure checks to identifying new LPs we should meet to matching my tone perfectly in follow-up emails. He's elevated my capacity as a founder by giving me more time to focus on the highest leverage work. Athena isn't just about scheduling meetings, it's about unlocking leverage. Hundreds of founders, investors, and executives trust Athena to free their time and scale their impact. Athena is offering our listeners $2,000 off for their first year of service and priority onboarding. And you want that, trust me, there's a very long wait list. When you're ready to multiply your impact and free up time for the things only you can do, go to athenago.me/Erica-Wenger. That's athenago.me/ERICA-WENGER. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also support our work by sharing it with a friend or leaving a quick review. It helps more contrarian builders find us. For more on Park Rangers Capital and our community of elephant founders, head to parkrangerscap.com or find me online at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.